Obviously, as the great Scott Del Fuego and wordsmith has coined the Philippines interknot, obviously it is once again for some strange reason. Certainly not because I don't pay my bill, but obviously the Philippines interknot is not working again. It's an amazing thing living here with this worthless garbage they call internet. Be that as it may, my bills are paid several months in advance, so they should at least give you the priority to give you internet at all times, but they don't. So today's topic, I didn't get to the Portland, Oregon riots in my last live stream because the internet took a crap again, as Scott Del Fuego calls it, the internet. Okay, so the Portland riots are now in day 63, as are Seattle, Washington, and Chicago. And it gets worse every day. Up on my screen, I have about 7 videos about the Portland, Oregon riots. The mayor got involved on the side of Black Lives Matter in Portland, Oregon. I can give you the link for that. It's a Tucker Carlson video. What a mess. So one question that I would pose to you is, of the Black Lives Matter protesters, how many of them can operate a nuclear power plant? Or would operate a nuclear power plant? Or wouldn't blow up a nuclear power plant because of their inability to operate a nuclear power plant? And this is one of the factors that I see becoming a big problem in America. No one is available to run any kind of complex machinery. Certainly the governments can't run nuclear power plants because they have trouble deciphering whether Jeffrey Epstein's personal logbook should be made public, when most intelligent people, honest, hardworking Americans, want every single detail of everything in Jeffrey Epstein's books published. You have all of these politicians saying, oh, no, judges, more, we shouldn't really do that because more evidence came in the last 48 hours. It's all bullshit, because this is going on for a very long time. But there's reasons the politicians, judges are reluctant to publish the entire. They should publish every page, every footnote, and every single innuendo of Jeffrey Epstein, every document that they found in the second house on the island with the safe with all the secret documents, and everything should be published, and it should be put on the front page of every paper in America. But that leads me to the Portland, Oregon riots. There are no gas stations, stores, no Kentucky Fried Chicken, no Burger Kings, no Chipotle. No, none of the fast food stores or gas stations are operating in Portland, Oregon, or Chicago, for the most part, in the downtown area, or Seattle. So let's just move this up a notch, and then we'll talk about prices in the Philippines and the price of these worthless little masks going up 25% in the last month. 25% increase, while the Philippines' wages went down 25%. And that's just one product. I have 6 more to my right that I'm going to discuss the topic matter of. Thank you. Thank you for stopping by. Let's see. Cause and effect finally caught you, goddamn rabbi. Thank you, cause and effect. Yeah, cause and effect. Thanks very much for stopping by. And Cause and Effect has a really interesting icon on his as his logos. It looks well, if I didn't know better, I would say it's the Star of David, and probably why he named his channel Cause and Effect, because some people believe that the corporation, the state, the great state of Israel, is causing some effects. So rest assured, it's highly probable that that's true. So let's talk about Black Lives Matter. Okay, let's talk about that for a minute. These people, and I follow the protests to some degree, but normally I would not. Like the French protests, right? They were up to in probably over 100 days of protests, and each day the news was less and less. Protests didn't stop, but the media shut down the narrative. So now, hello, Princess Anne. Thank you for coming back. Thank you very much. I'm trying to get in touch with Warren, but I can't. So thank you for stopping back again. So the protests in Seattle is something I follow. Having visited Seattle, Washington ever so briefly, just basically rode through the state when I was doing a tour back in the 90s. It's a beautiful place. I mean, the mountains, the rivers, the streams, the lakes, the forests, very well-known area for forests, and old forests, more specifically. Well, right now they're on day 63 of the riots. And believe me, they're riots. They're not protests. So Tucker Carlson did a 45-minute segue on the riots in Seattle, Washington, and Detroit. Let me get that link up for you right now. Let me see if I get that for you. I have it up on my page here. Tucker Carlson. All right, let's what I'm going to do. Well, I'm gonna just go to his page, and hopefully the computer doesn't take a crap on me again. So what I'm going to do here, I don't want to play any part of this because it's copyrightable material. So I'm going to write down Carlson, Tuckercarlson, Black Lives Matter protests. Okay, and then start video at 7-minute mark. Okay, so you're gonna I did all of that, and now I gotta tell you, the internet here is for shit. I put the cursor in there, Tucker Carlson. I gotta do it again, Tucker. This is not the first time this has happened. I've been typing many things in YouTube, and the comment just disappears. Put the cursor in the right spot, start typing. You see it. When you look up after you're done typing, the comment's gone. About Black Lives Matter protests. Link. Start video at 7-minute mark. Okay, well, we're there, still there. That's nice. Start, and then I'll put the link in there 3 times. Okay, so why do I talk about the Tucker Carlson? First of all, he's probably better than most newscasters, but he's still scared to death to actually say the truth. He always innuendo, smiling, smirks. The guy, he knows that he's going to get fired if he tells you the exact truth, as do they all. Anyway, this piece of so-called newscaster talks about the riots in Seattle, Washington, Chicago, other places in America, but more specifically, I was concerned about Portland, Oregon. So at the 7-minute mark in the link I provided, that's where he talks about Portland, Oregon going into a state of shambles. That's concerning. No gas stations, no Dunkin' Donuts, no Kentucky Fried Chickens, no Chick-fil-A, whatever the name of that chicken place is. Starbucks, it's all being destroyed by Black Lives Matter. So, what I've been watching for the last 2 weeks, because I think, Warren, no, I didn't have a blackout. The internet just took a crap, Warren. What I've been watching for the last, did you get my mail? I sent you a mail to ask you a question. I'll put it in this video if the answer is yes. If not, we'll wait until Tuesday. So that's up to you. So Tucker Carlson was talking about the riots. They're destroying everything. In Portland, Oregon, Black Lives Matter, so-called protesters, what bullshit are in the titles? Peaceful protest turns into burning of federal courthouse. What? So most people ever read a peaceful protest due to police corruption, some bullshit, or due to bent on stopping police, whatever bullshit they're bullshitting about is bullshit. Okay, so, all right, so the Black Lives Matter protesters, at the 7-minute mark in the video link I provided, starts to talk about the Portland, Oregon riots and how they broke through the barricades. The police started shooting tear gas at them, but that part of the video was cut out after the first shot. But then later on, it shows you them. It looks it's a really quick clip. I only watched it twice. It looks like they're pouring gas into a window of the federal building. So I don't think they put it on fire, but they tried to put it on fire through a broken window. I can't tell. But it's bullshit that it ever got that far. I've talked to several major police officers, and their opinion is that the police, if they shoot these people for trying to burn down a federal courthouse, they're afraid they're going to go to jail. Forget that bullshit, federal courthouse. Forget the bullshit Starbucks. Forget the bullshit McDonald's and Dunkin' Donuts. What happens? I'm one of the rare and few people that have ever graced the Philippines blogging community with information. I am probably maybe the only person that I know of for sure that has been inside a nuclear power plant. I was in Turkey Point in Homestead, Florida, the foot of Florida. And it's federally operated. And even back in, I guess it was 1997 when I went there into the plant, it was very controlled. Everybody carried machine guns. But if ever there was a massive, I don't know how it is now, but at that time, if ever there was a massive attempt to get into the nuclear power plant to do damage, from what I saw, I think it would be possible. Now, I don't think there were enough guards even back then to stop a problem, but back then there were really no problems in the world with that kind of stuff. But if a terrorist organization wanted to get into that power plant, I would think a task force could get in and do whatever they wanted to do. But now, I have no idea what their defense is. But what I'm looking at with the police allowing people to throw gasoline into a federal courthouse. Whoa. And not 30 or 40 protesters, but thousands. How would they stop these people from getting into a nuclear power plant? They would have to machine gun thousands of people if those people decided to storm a nuclear power plant. And as I was reading on the website of Portland, Oregon, I'll show you the map. You know what I'll do? I'll just give you the link. I will tell you that there's an amazing, not a small amount of power plants in Portland, Oregon, but I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, let's start at the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 nuclear power plants. 10. I'll show it to you. Hopefully we don't lose the connection. 10. Oregon is right below the last word, Oregon. There are 10 nuclear power plants. So let's say these geniuses that are operating Black Lives Matter, let's say they decided to storm the New Scale power plant, which is the closest one to Portland, Oregon. New Scale nuclear power plant. And then when I give you this link, you can go there and look for yourself. But let's say they decided to storm the nuclear power plant. Nuclear, N-U-C-L-E-A-R, power, P-O-W-R, Portland. Okay, so I'm going to provide you with the link. Can't do that. Okay, you're going to have to. It's 400 characters. All right, so I can't provide you with the link to that. So you'll just have to Google. Hold on. It wouldn't take it out the first time or the second time. Okay. Just Google this, and you'll see 10 nuclear power plants. So these effing politicians that are allowing these people, so-called people, to burn down the federal courthouse, Starbucks, in Tucker Carlson's 45-minute dissertation, 2 members of their political faction in Portland, Oregon, 2, not all, 2 opposed Black Lives Matter being allowed to ravage the city. So what did they do? They went to the 2, whatever their, I forget what their positions were in politics, but they went to each person's house. One of them lived above an apartment above Starbucks, and they destroyed Starbucks and they tried to set it on fire. And the other one, they went to their house. And now these people are not opposing the riots anymore. You know, I have a lot of problems with that because they've destroyed the economy. They've destroyed the businesses for people that have worked their entire life to buy a business. What if they bought the business 6 months ago and now it's out of business? So they worked their entire life to build up a business, and 3 months later they lost their life savings. That's all bullshit. That's all bullshit that they allow that to happen. But let's say that they decided to storm a nuclear power plant. The guards there would have to kill thousands. Oh, and what happened to Trump? Where is Trump? This lying piece of walking, talking fecal matter, Trump. Where is he? He said a month ago he was going to stop these riots. And it's this, and we have to go through that Congress, and we have to have it here. You're a fucking lying scumbag, Trump. You're a lying scumbag. You said you were going to stop the riots using the National Guard, and you never did that. Even though a lot of people are opposed to that, that might have stopped all of this bullshit. So now we have 63 days of rioting in Portland, Oregon, and no fucking solution whatsoever. Not a damn bit. No closer to the solution today than we were 60 days ago. And Trump is still sitting around with his finger up his rectum, doing nothing. That's what's wrong with Trump and politicians. But, and no pun intended, there's a reason why Trump isn't doing a damn thing about the riots. And I think I got it figured out. Jeffrey Epstein's little black book and all of the documents associated with that are in jeopardy of being released to the public. So the longer that Trump can keep those documents from being published, and the more news coverage of the riots in America taking away headline coverage from Epstein's black book and all the other documents they stole, the more secure Trump is that he's not going to go to jail, or his friends are not going to go to jail. And he has a lot of friends, and including himself, that have flown on Jeffrey Epstein's plane, and they were friends back in the 80s and the 90s. So Trump doesn't give a flying shit about the American public. What he cares about is those little black books that Epstein and that other Maxwell woman had, and all of the politicians, including all of Trump's immediate inner circle and their friends, his friends that throughout the last 40 years of his life, they're all somehow connected to Epstein. Well, maybe 50% or 70%. Trump doesn't give a flying shit about Portland, Oregon, or Chicago, or Seattle, Washington. He doesn't want those damn little black books published. And this way we can take the heat off the books and put it on Black Lives Matter. Trump is another piece of walking, talking fecal tissue that became president, just like the one before him and the one before that and the one before that. LaRue Seagrass, welcome to the machine, LaRue. Welcome. I hope Jack is here. He is. Jack says, point of order, Trump never flew on Epstein's plane. Bono's Entertainment, or somebody like him, showed pictures of Trump being friends with Epstein going back 30 years. So I could be wrong about that, Jack. Maybe there is no documentation of Trump flying on Epstein's plane. But there is proof that Trump and Epstein were friends. First of all, Jack is probably right that there's no proof that Trump flew on Epstein's plane, and I'm probably wrong. But why would you be friends with a pedophile? For what reason would that happen in most men's lives? I know Jack would not be friends with a pedophile, or myself, or Warren, or Andrew, or Steve, who probably might be watching, or Scott and Dennis. None of my friends, Jerry, John, Spanky, none of my friends would ever be friends with a pedophile that I know of. I mean, who knows? But who knows who really? I know that I'm not. I sure believe Warren and Scott are not. But there are pictures of Trump and Epstein being friends. So if you told me that, well, this happened to me, so I could tell you the story. Mary T.C. told me one of my best friends from childhood was gay and having sex with one of my other best friends from childhood. When I was 32 years old, I had no idea that they were doing that. Now, I just stopped hanging out with them. I didn't say anything necessarily bad to their families about them. I didn't out them to their brothers or their mothers and fathers. I just didn't stay with them anymore because it wasn't the kind of lifestyle that I would want to be around. It has nothing to do with being a homophobic. Those two men, indirectly, because we were friends, did some pretty strange shit that I found out later on that everybody, not everybody, but people were aware of. Even one of my uncles came in. My real uncles, my real uncle came in and said about Eddie, and I'm going, this is like 6 months before. Mary, my uncle, my mother, they were all friends since childhood, since they were like 19 years old or earlier. Mary was friends with my aunts since they were born. So Mary told the truth that Tommy and Eddie and little Joey, they were all having sex. But one of my uncles said something to me. I'm going, what the hell is he talking about? My cousin said, we were sitting at my cousin's kitchen table. We were making jelly, homemade grape jelly. And he said, I don't know what the hell he's talking about. So I said, why don't you go in and ask him? Because that was the most bizarre thing I ever heard. So my cousin went into the living room and asked my uncle, why did you say that? And then my uncle told my cousin that Eddie, and without mentioning his last name, got caught, not by the police, but inside the bathroom of a bar that's called Port O'Call, Portocall, on 101st, not 101st Avenue? No, not 101st. On Woodhaven Boulevard, and I forgot the name of it's right by the bridge. I forgot the name of the court. There's a major Atlantic Avenue. Atlantic Avenue and Woodhaven Boulevard, Port O'Call Bar. So a couple of guys were going into the bathroom at a time, and Eddie was giving him a tune-up, and they were giving him like $5 a throw so he could buy drugs. And I'm going, so that I didn't find that out till after I stopped talking to them. But that's not like a good kind of that's not the kind of repertoire I would want to have as friends. But I didn't know that at the time. But when I found out they were having sex with each other, I just stopped talking to them. But later on, I found out what they were doing, because the guys that were giving Eddie $5 for a tune-up were telling everybody in the bar that Eddie was really good at that, and they were crowding into the bathroom to get a little, to get a service work done, and I'm going to myself. So when my uncle told my cousin this stuff, I'm going, what the hell is he talking about? But it was true. So why would Trump hang out with Epstein? I don't see how that would be possible in a normal world. Peekaboo to you. Well, this is going back, and I'll tell you how far it's going back. My cousin was working on my barge with me, because we had the barge parked behind his house. We were rebuilding his bulkhead and his deck and dock system. We're talking back in the 80s. Wait a second. Wait. No, couldn't have been that. Couldn't have been in the 80s. We're talking it could have been the 80s. Because I was still living in the apartment a few doors away from Mary T.C. until 1990. Yeah, it could have been, and I did have the barge. I bought the barge in 1988. Yeah, so yeah, it could have been around 1988. I was 33 years old. That's right. That's exactly 30. I was 32. Yep, that's when it happened. So, so why would you stay friends with a pedophile? Why? No, a known pedophile. If you didn't know it, then that's something else. But Trump is friend. All right, even if Trump isn't a pedophile, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. He still stayed with a pedophile. But even if he wasn't a pedophile, his friends that did fly on the Lolita Express, Bill Clinton, Mrs. Clinton, that other guy from New York, the guy who got thrown out of Congress, whatever the hell he was in, Anthony Weiner, they all were in on this shit. And Trump knows about it, knew about it, and still knows about the consequences from it. So we're going to leave it at that. Yeah, okay, Trump banned Epstein from his country clubs. I've read about that. I heard about the hitting on the daughter of an employee, and I heard about all of that. And Jack, I read it. I believe it's true, and I believe you're telling the truth. I know you're telling the truth, but Trump had bigger ambitions to be president, even back as far as the 1980s. So he he was groomed to be president, the same way Obama was groomed to be president. Anything could have happened between the time that Trump had that interview back in 1980 or 79. Anything could have happened. Airplane crash, boat blow up, anything could have happened. But he did become president, and he said he had ambitions if he ever became president to do such and such and such and such. So defending Trump because you're my friend is because you're telling the truth is perfectly okay. But I have a difference of opinion as to what Trump knew about and what he didn't know about. I think he did all of that shit to cover his ass. But there's no way for me to know that. A Brit in the Philippines. Ah! A Brit in the Philippines is in the house, baby. And he runs some severe live streaming. We'll call it severe live streaming. A Brit will do 13-hour live streams. He's an amazing man. So that's right. You tend to be judged by people that you hang out with. And I know Chris, a Brit in the Philippines, is definitely not going to be hanging out with that type of person because I see what he does on his channel. When he doesn't agree with somebody's ideology, lifestyle, or even their opinion, and he's firm on his opinion, he just shits cans them off his channel. It eliminates all kinds of bullshit. First of all, I had some troll on my channel this morning that Britt would have threw right off too. I asked the guard, how long will the wait be? And they said 45 minutes to an hour for like the third day in a row. And for the third day in a row, it was 4 to 6 hours. I mean, what the fuck? Don't you understand how long will the wait be? And, so, and then a comment that comes on and says, well, you should learn how to speak the language. What the fuck do I have to learn how to speak Visaya for? All I asked was a guard that's been in front of that building for the last 6 months for sure, probably 6 years, because they always had the guard at the front entrance. All I asked him was, how long is the wait for 50 numbers? And the idiot gave me a number of 45 minutes to an hour for like the 5th time in 3 days. So what the fuck? How the guard doesn't know that to go through 10 numbers takes 2 hours, and I'm number 57, so I'm looking at a 6-hour wait, which is what it was. He doesn't know this. He does this every day. He hands out the same numbers for the same time, each product of tax in the Philippines. I did my Philippines blogger tax, professional tax paperwork yesterday. So anyway, each product for tax revenue goes through about the same process. The first time I applied for a tax paperwork, I was in the office 2 hours. The second time I went back for a different type of tax purpose, I was in the office about 2 hours, and yesterday I was in the office for 2 hours. So this guard has to know that each person takes about 2 hours, and how many people there's 7 people handling persons, paperwork. So you can do, X amount of people, 20 people an hour, and that's it. So I got pissed off at Huff. I have to learn Visaya to ask a man that sits in front of the same fucking door for 6 years or 6 months, does the same job, knows the same exact paperwork is going to be handled every day. I'm the one who has to learn how to speak a different language. How long will it take to get to number 57? Period. 45 minutes. He says that to everybody because he doesn't give a flying shit how long you wait. In the sun, in the heat. Fuck that. I went to the BQ Mall. I went 5 kilometers away to the ICM Mall. Then I went to get vegetables. Then I went to the school supply store. And then I went to the grocery store. And then I came back and I was still waiting. These fucking people. All of them tell you some bullshit answer that you want to hear, 45 minutes to an hour. And there were people sitting in front of that Bureau of Immigration Tax Office from 7 o'clock in the morning. The guy next to me upstairs, because we both got there right around the same time. He was like 4 numbers ahead of me. I got there 20 after 7. He got there after 7. He left at 3 o'clock and I left at 3:20 or 3:30. And he sat there from 7 o'clock in the morning. Every time I came back from the stores and said how long, and they said 45 minutes to an hour. I said, what the fuck? And then every time I left, he was still sitting in the same. That guy sat there for 7 hours, and we talked about that. And he said it was unfair. What are you going to do? So, well, you could have went home and took a nap. You could have went, to another store. He goes, I had nothing else to do. I said, okay. But so let's get back to the comments. All right. I'll get to your comment, Connie Ford, in a minute. Yeah, I know him, Joe DeSena. I know you're talking about the plumbing company, right? Donald's brother, Joe. I grew up with them. I grew up with the DeSena family. I mean, I probably know a Joe DeSena, but the family is well, actually, it's not really that big of a family that I know about. For all I know, Joe DeSena is Donald's son. But yeah, I know him. I know Donald DeSena, and I know the DeSena family that we grew up with. I don't remember a Joe per se, but I'm sure if I grew up with them, I know him. Epstein was my favorite on Welcome Back, Kotter. If I was to make a comment about Welcome Back, Kotter, the only thing I can tell you, peekaboo to you, is that in my life, from the time I was 17 years old until this morning at 1 o'clock this afternoon, I've never watched a television. I can turn on shit like Star Trek. They only made 63 episodes, and every once in a while I'll run across one I didn't see or don't remember. But Welcome Back, Kotter. I think the Fonz was in Welcome Back, Kotter. Never liked Henry Winkler. Never liked him as an actor. Never liked him as a movie in a thing. Didn't like him. Didn't like any of the shows. Topic matter. Never watched. I couldn't name a single scene from Welcome Back, Kotter, except if that's the one where the guy wears the leather jacket. I remember the jacket, and that's all I could tell. If I'm right, I think the Fonz was. I couldn't even bet on that. Fuck that. I don't watch that shit. I never watch that kind of shit. But if you liked it, that's up to you. But I would not watch that kind of a program. So I watched All in the Family because that was pretty pretty truthful to what was going on back then. A lot of the episodes, if you go back on All in the Family, although Archie butchered the English language, a lot of the shit he talked about was true. Okay, Sabang says Maxwell Records today, nothing about Trump. Okay, Prince Andrew, oh, isn't that, one of Trump's associates on political level? I understand what you're saying, Sabang, and thank you for the information, but we don't know what was redacted out of those documents. Think about it. Now, I'm not saying Trump was involved, but what if he was? And what if they just said, no, we're not going to have Trump, but redact that shit for now. And 50 years from now, they could see the truth. The documentary I did on Britain's biggest nuclear catastrophe, you think that the fucking media is telling you the truth, Sabang? Look up, go to my other video, the one I did this morning, and look up, I'll look it up for you. I can't look it up. I don't know why. All right. I'm not going to push a button. The Operation Wind Screen or Wind Side. Just look up Great Britain's worst nuclear disaster. Operation Windscreen back in the 1940s. And they had fucking proof that the politicians were 100% responsible for a fast-track method to make plutonium. They were fucking absolute 100% proof. And what the politicians forced the scientists for a deadline to make an atom bomb and a hydrogen bomb. They forced the scientists to do this. So the scientists had to cut corners without doing the research to make the plutonium. And it almost devastated a good portion of Great Britain. Was not the scientists' fault, was not the instrumentation fault, was not the theoretical scientists' fault. It was the politicians that said, you will make an atom bomb by a certain day, and we don't care what it takes to get it done, cut the corners, whatever. And they did. They did so by cutting cooling fins off of radioactive control rods. I could tell you how much, but I don't. Not today's topic. Then Great Britain said, well, America's going to make a hydrogen bomb. You need to make one of those too. And they had to cut more corners, and they had to do things without research. They had to just do it, what they called it, on the fly. And they almost destroyed a large portion of Great Britain because the politicians demanded that the scientists meet a deadline or they were all out of a job. So they did it, and they built a hydrogen bomb. But a few weeks later, the core went on fire. No one knew how to put it out. Eventually, they got it out. I won't tell you how it works because I won't tell you how they did it, because in case you want to watch the video, it's an interesting video. It's an hour and 27 minutes long. But the truth is that of the several hundred scientists, all were in agreement that the government forced them to fast-track things that they shouldn't have been forced to do. And that's why the core almost melted and shut down the entire nuclear industry back in the 40s, because it almost destroyed Great Britain, or a large portion of Great Britain. And what did the politicians do? Those lying scumbag politicians that they are? They just made it the fault of the scientists. And how did they make it the fault of the scientists? They said they issued in a report that the scientists may have made an error. And then they shut the fucking real report, which was several hundred pages long, and 272 people were interviewed. 272 scientists and nuclear physicists were interviewed, all said the same thing, that we didn't have enough time to research it. And the fucking document was classified, and no one saw the document till a few years ago, from 1948 to 1998. Then there was a document done with the survivors, scientists, physicists, and they all said the same thing. Then in the report was read. The report said what the scientists said a few years ago when they made the upload, and the fucking politicians lied through their teeth. You don't think that Trump would do that? I think he would. Look what Obama did and got away with it. You asked for Mr. Obama's birth certificate? Not going to get it. LaRue is saying hello to Jack. Jack is saying hello to LaRue. Warren says, I could not be friends with a person who touches kids. Thank you, Warren. $5 for a tune-up with an oil change costing $30. So this is going back. I had the barge and I was still living on the water, so it's going back into 88, 89, or 90. So things were a lot cheaper then, even tune-ups. And you got to remember, this was Eddie giving a tune-up, not his wife. And they, so you got to get some kind of discount. He had a goatee and a big heavy-duty mustache. I mean, you should get a discount for that alone. I remember that. I remember he got, Jack Thompson says, the Palm Beach city control threatened Trump because his American flag was 30 feet high. They threatened to fine him thousands of dollars a day. Then Jack says, Trump is the ultimate troll. Trump should get your vote. Everybody should vote for Trump. I'm not saying you shouldn't vote for Trump. I'm just saying he's a lying scumbag. I mean, you don't have a choice. Jack Thompson, he cut a deal with the city council to pay $300,000 to the local veterans. The city council agreed to his offer. He built, I remember, that's how he built a 20-foot mound. I remember that, Jack. Thank you for reminding me. So he wasn't allowed to fly the flag at 30 feet, but so he built a 20-foot mound and put the flag on top of it. And that's what you get. A Brit in the Philippines says, Michael, you cracked me up. Love you, man. Thanks. Thank you very much, Chris. Appreciate when you stop by and make comments. I got to tell you, I want to get to the prices in the Philippines. I'm going to go through a couple of comments. Jack says, and planted the flag on the mountain. The city council got zero money and the veterans got the money. 45 minutes to an hour in the Philippines time, 4 to 6 hours everywhere else. That's right. And Peekaboo says hello to Princess. Duterte says he's going after Globe and PLD for their horrific services. And well, he should. Those motherfuckers, PLD, internet, that you know what they want from me to start a line here? They want fucking 4,000 pesos for the installation of the wire itself. And 4,000 pesos for the wire itself. 1,500 pesos for the installation. 5,000 pesos for the box. So that's 9,500 pesos. No contract and no telephone. So I would have to keep Globe at 1,300 pesos a month. to keep my phone. And this is the fucking kicker with these son of a bitches and this internet bullshit. So the one that carries fiber, to get the wire into my house, to put the wire right here, is 9,500 pesos. But being that the wire is so far away from the hub, they won't guarantee me a better service than I have with Globe right now. And no one else has the wire near me. So if it didn't work, I could cancel it in 1 month, but I would have already given them $9,200. If it did work, I still have to keep Globe for my phone. And here's the kicker. These son of a bitches. I just told Peekaboo I don't watch television. I've never watched. I would never watch television. It's just not part of my repertoire. You have to take sports, cable, television, and news with your contract. You don't have to use it. You don't have to turn it on, but you have to take it. So the monthly bill is 4,000 pesos. So the monthly bill for all that bullshit and possible better internet is 4,000 and 1,300 for Globe. They fuck. That's why the Filipino people don't have or can't keep up with anything on the internet or news. Plus, probably, to be honest, I would say that 80% of every Filipino that's 35 years or older probably never graduated grade school. So the internet would do them no good. And in addition, they don't have 5,000, 4,000 pesos a month for the internet. All right, now we're going to get some prices in. Warren, did you get my mail? You're back here again. Did you get my mail? Can I talk about that or not yet? Please. If it really doesn't make a difference, but I can't see my mail. If I go to my mail, I'm afraid I'll lose the connection again. So let's talk about prices in the Philippines. This little mask, as Steve Montelli, the great Steve Montelli calls it, toilet paper, 3-ply toilet paper. When I bought it, I forgot my mask one day, about 2 or 3 months ago. I bought it. It was 28 pesos, 28. And you could buy them just about anywhere. And I put it on, and it's okay. It's a regulation. It doesn't do anything, but it's okay to wear this. So when I went into the same store to buy something else a few days ago, I asked how much the masks were, 35 pesos. So it went up. This little piece of shit went up 25%. This little piece of shit mask doesn't even weigh, I'll tell you how much it weighs. Doesn't weigh, know for a fact it doesn't weigh 1.5 grams. How I would know that? Because I used to weigh a lot of diamonds. So, 25% increase for this piece of shit. So, I'm on the jeepney, and the girl, just a couple of weeks ago, the girl next to me takes this mask and she crumples it up like this and then throws it into, clearly it was a bag of garbage that she had, and she was throwing the garbage from her pocketbook in a little bag. So I said to the girl, "Why are you throwing that out?" She says, "It's dirty." I said, "Well, you can put that in bleach and soapy water and hand wash it like you'd wash a delicate." "Sir, it's dirty." And that was the end of the conversation. So she threw hers out, and yesterday I washed my masks. This thing was filthy. You couldn't even breathe through it. That's how dirty it was. This one, you could not breathe through it. It wouldn't, the air went from around the sides. This one went up 25%, although Philippines wages went down 25%. These masks here, this one you can see is a little dirty compared to this one, if you can see it, but just take my word for it. This one also not able to breathe through it. It was just not possible. That's how much dust it saved from going in my lungs. So I cleaned this one. It's like brand new. And this one was pretty dirty, but not altogether that dirty. And it's clean as a whistle. But you got to wash them really strong bleach and soapy water, and just take them and you can squeeze them up a little bit, but not so much. And you can't leave them in the bleachy water, or the rubber band will get hard and brittle. So you could do it for about 30 seconds in the bleach, and then you can use them over and over again. Now, I have these masks. Then I have several more. I have several more masks of different styles and sizes. Each time you forget one, you got to buy a new one. But I buy the designer masks. So masks are up 25%, even though more people are out of work. But let's get to the school supplies, which no one goes to school anymore. So this is the price list. You're not going to be able to see that, but this is the price list. And inside this box itself are rubber bands. So I'll tell you what the prices were for this box probably 6 months ago. It is now 85 pesos. It was 68. I have another box up there. I threw the box out, but I have the little boxes. But I remember the big boxes were 68 pesos, and the smaller boxes were 8 pesos. So this is 200 grams. So this box went from 68 to 82. That's 85. That's 17 peso increase on a 60. It went up 25%. 17% out of 70, out of 68, out of 75. 20% it went up. 20%, this box of rubber bands. However, we have good news. The masking tape, I'm going to tell you the best place in America, the best place in the Philippines to buy masking tape, that's this stuff right here. Masking tape. You wouldn't think there was such a mock-up on masking tape, but there is. So this roll of masking tape is 33 pesos in Build-A-Wear or City Hardware. 33. And inside the school supply in the ICM mall, it's 13 pesos. So it's 200% mocked up in the building supply. So if you want to buy masking tape, and the interesting thing is they have all the different sizes. They have 1.5 inches, 1 1/8, 2 inches. So at the ICM school supply, the masking tape is 1/3. And that's the only place you can buy a big box of rubber bands like this. But I will tell you something else. There's a rubber band that I normally buy, a better rubber band. You're going to buy rubber bands. I don't know if I have any left. There's another quality rubber band besides these rubber bands, these red, green, orange, and yellow rubber bands. Oh, they screwed me with the big ones. There's another quality that's not 70, what did I say, 70, 83 pesos? 85. The other box of rubber bands is not 85 pesos. It's 250 pesos, or 4 times the price. It's a better quality rubber band, but I don't think it's worth 4 times the price. So but you can buy them at the school supply, and those rubber bands went up 25%. Those went up from like 180 pesos to 225 pesos. So they went up 25%. Another thing that went up, now you might not think this is a big deal, but for children, you have supplies, the way children go through staples, they might throw 500 staples in a piece of paper. This little box of staples went from 10 pesos, not because it's 10 millimeter, but it just went from 10 pesos to 12 pesos. That's a 20% increase, 20% increase. And this bottle of ink. Now, I refill my magic markers because a magic marker is 139 to 165 pesos. Well, and this refill will fill them 10, 12 times. This went from, this went down. This went down in price 6%. It's a petrochemical, so it would make sense that it would go down. Plus, nobody's in school, so they can't sell the shit. But gasoline went down, diesel, not gas. Diesel went down 35% in the fill. Diesel fuel is 40 pesos per liter, and it was up to 57. So it went down close to 45% diesel fuel. But gas went down, same percentage about 4 months ago, and came back. Last week, yesterday, I saw gas at 57 cents a liter in the city and 53 in the province. So this is a product that went through the roof, that went down, and this is a product that went up 20%. So it's only 2 more pesos, but that's 4 cents. And that doesn't matter. It's still a 20% increase since the last time I bought staples about a year ago. So the prices are going up 25% a year, and the wages went down 25% since last year. So what the fuck? I mean, who the hell, how many of these Filipinos that are not working, they don't need school supplies for their kids, but they couldn't afford it if they did. And when they go back to work, the last thing they're going to be doing is paying for school supplies. I mean, how much fucking longer can this bullshit go on where wages go down or nobody's working and prices go up? Not fucking fair to the local people, that's for sure. Not fair at all. And I got to tell you, some of the shit I see, the prices going up the way they do, the price of a jeepney increased 100% everywhere. Price of the bus, 100%. Because they can only put 1/3 as many people on the bus. So they just took a number and they raised it up 100%. I mean, it's not fair to the people of the world, of the Philippines. Here's the other mask. Here's a black mask I have. And then I have a black mask with some stupid design on it. It's not fair. I see the Great Scott. And this rubber band, now it's out of stock. These are the thick rubber bands that I put on big things. Out of stock. Not just out of stock this week, out of stock a month ago. It's not going to be stock on that product. Apparently, wherever that product comes from, there is no more. Oh, and the computers, I mentioned it in my last live stream. Computers have less computers than they did 10 days ago. Jollibee's had 3 guests online, nobody sitting down, as opposed to 4 guests last week, 1 person sitting down. Kentucky Fried Chicken last week had 1 sitting down and no people at the cash register. yesterday at around the same time, noon, had no guests sitting down and no one at the cash register, except the people that man the cash register. So things ain't getting better, that's for sure. All the kiosks, I mentioned, all the kiosks for Dunkin' Donuts in both malls are shut down. The Dunkin' Donuts in the BQ Mall, whilst I was in there yesterday, it looked like it could open or was opening, but at 10:30 in the morning, it had not opened yet. But it did look like maybe they open it up in the afternoon. I don't know. I'm waiting for a response from Warren Lutzenberg. The dollar bill weighs a gram. Perfect thing to use on a balance beam, yeah? Or to test out a triple. So, I know, Lutzenberg. The masks are a scam also. Yeah, it's just the whole thing is a scam. I could tell you about that. Lutzenberg, the U.S. nickel cent piece weighs 5 grams. Thank you. That I either didn't know or don't remember. Thank you. Scott Del Fuego is wordsmithing. I feel the intellectia of YouTube coming into play. A channel that is virtually limitless in the various topics presented. Slapstick humor with hidden messages to practical cleaning of masks to philosophical consideration of the existentialist beliefs. You can do double the useful knowledge and entertainly. Okay, wait. You can double the useful knowledge and entertainment simply by joining the Patreon community and supporting Michael in his efforts to entertain, educate, eviscerate, and explain. That's true. So, haven't had a new member of my Patreon community in about a month now. And I got to say, I can understand why people don't have money to add to the Patreon community. But my last 2 subscribers on Patreon were very, very generous. Very generous. So we thank you. Thank you for that. Steve and Rob, thank you very much. If you're watching. So, so the Portland, getting back to the Portland rioters. So we got sidetracked with that piece of fucking garbage, Epstein. What if the protesters decided to take over a nuclear power plant? Now, I'm being serious now. I'm not fucking around. I'm really being serious. What if they decided to do that? I mean, would they shoot 1,000 people? Okay, and then let's move further. Let's say they didn't. Let's say they backed off and the protesters took over the nuclear power plant and started breaking shit, and it overheated. The one in Portland, Oregon. There's 10 power plants, but I think 8 of them are nuclear. I don't know which way the wind blows. But what if they cause, I don't know, a catastrophic event inside the nuclear power plant? And it was Fukushima all over again. Fuck. There's 8 more power plants on the same river that cools the plant. I mean, then could there be 8 nuclear catastrophes because the wind is blowing the radioactive material downwind? You know, these people don't have a fucking clue how to store this stuff. All that bullshit. Anybody comes on my channel and tells me they know how to store radiation and it's safe, it's a fucking liar. And that includes my friend Big E. He says that radiation, nuclear waste is perfectly, solvable. I got to tell you, that's a fucking lie. I don't know why anybody would believe that. And I like Big E, but he is on the side of nuclear energy being a reasonably cost product. But when you take nuclear energy down to the 10th degree, that these motherfuckers, garbage, piece of shit, lying fucking criminals that run the nuclear power industry tell you that they have it under control, they are fucking lying. They had to shut down the San Andreas power plant. And what did they do? These fucking bastards. They had to bury the fuel. So they come up with this plan, another fucking waste of the American taxpayers' money, and probably will destroy Los Angeles in 100 years. They come up with the CASK, C-A-S-K system. What a fucking fraud that is. Each cask is about 2 meters in diameter and about 11 feet tall and weighs several tons. It's 3/4 of an inch stainless steel inside and outside, and in the middle has some kind of concrete lead barrier. And then they have to be slipped into a concrete embankment, like a box that just fits them. Okay, it's a fucking lie that those will contain nuclear waste. They cost $1 million for each cask, and they store so much amount of radioactive waste. The lifespan, which is another fucking lie, is 200 years. When the fuck have you ever heard the government tell you the truth about anything? Never. Ain't never gonna happen. So, what somebody discovered is if they weren't made right, they're already potentially going to leak radiation within the next 50 years. Now, one guy operating a crane and another guy supposedly a ground man, I would imagine they'd use a tagline, but I don't know that they would. But the guy on the ground wasn't paying attention to the placement of the cask. And at the top of the cask, there's a lip. Looks like this. Not much of a lip. It doesn't look like it's even 3/4 of an inch. But that's the cap. That's how they welded or bolted the cap on. So that lip got hung up on the tomb that they were putting the cask in. And the guy kept wheeling wire down, and the wire went slack. The fucking operator should be fired from his job and never get another job again. This is sensitive material. But anyway, the wire went slack, and when the guy on the ground, if it's true that he even said anything that the wire, well, okay, that's the problem. The operator sucks for not keeping an eye on the tensiometer, because being that it's a hydraulic spool, you wouldn't feel the wire rolling off with no weight on it. If you had a live boom, live wire friction brake crane, you would feel the slack in the cable. The brake would stop anyway. There would be no spooling down. Well, anyway, the fucking guy wasn't paying attention, and the casket bounced from side to side. Apparently, they had to take it out and examine it, and they weren't sure if there was any damage on the inside internally. That was $1 million. But had it broke, it would have irradiated Los Angeles. What the fuck is wrong with these people? So if nuclear, Nuclear, nuclear power plant in Portland, Oregon, got run over by Black Lives Matter, and they took a shit on the controls, like they take a shit on everything else they touch, well, then there'd be a nuclear catastrophe in the Midwest that would end life in Portland, Oregon, Seattle, Northern California. I mean, that would be the end of life as we know it on that part of America. There's 9 nuclear power plants, all within a 50-mile range of each other. And that's the part that pisses me off, because I was watching the radio. I'm gonna try something. I don't know that it's gonna work. I'm gonna try to get to the other page by exiting the full screen, and then I'm gonna give you the name. Okay, I showed you the nuclear power plants before around Oregon. So here they are again. There's 10, but this Bonneville Powerville station, I don't know if it's nuclear. Some of them are power plants. Some of them are generating stations. But either way, here's Oregon down here, and this are 10 power plants. So if the Black Lives Matter overran that one, which here is a list of the power plants. New scale power, that's what it was. Some of them are nuclear power and some of them are not. But if Black Lives Matter took over one nuclear power plant and destroyed it, what the fuck else do? They don't do anything for society, building of society. They want to eliminate police. They should eliminate some form of political entities, but not the police. And they want to destroy everything that keeps America from falling apart. Well, if the police and that piece of shit Trump, in my opinion, don't do anything about this soon, what's to prevent them from going after the nuclear power plant? What the fuck stops them from going after a nuclear power plant? You see all these movies in the future, they go after a nuclear power plant and they shut it down or destroy the population of the world. It's been played out in 100 science fiction movies. You know, that's like a major thing. And nobody's stopping these fucking people from destroying everything. I'm serious. So here is wind scale Britain's nuclear disaster. Wind scale Britain's nuclear disaster. I'm going to give you the link for this. If you want to watch a good documentary on how the government lies and how they blamed like several hundred of the world's smartest people doing their best to get a job done to make a fucking nuclear bomb. That was the first part of the project of wind scale, where they tried. It took them 6 years and $250 million to get 134 grams of plutonium. That was the first 6 years. However, what went awry was when Winston Churchill, that other piece of shit politician, built a hydrogen bomb, demanded it. Didn't care how many fail-safes they had to bypass, just build that damn bomb and build it by a certain date because he wanted to become partners with America in the atomic bomb race. And what are you people are so fucking stupid, it's unbelievable. I gotta tell you, man. The fucking people are really fucking stupid. When you think that the nuclear power plants are making nuclear power, and that's the reason for the nuclear power plant. It has nothing to do with it. Nuclear energy is a side issue of a nuclear power plant. The real reason for a nuclear power plant is to make plutonium, tritium, U-238, U-233, and iridium, I think, another product. Anyway, the whole fucking reason for nuclear power plants is to make heavy metals to make nuclear bombs. Also, the shit that bullets are made out of. I forgot the name of the stuff. The bullets are made out of, Lachenberg should know. Knows a lot about bullets. Yeah. So Lachenberg says, I live 30 minutes from Rancho Seco, decommissioned nuclear reactor. They use the CAS system. Okay. But the CAS system, they say the casks are only going to be good for 200 years. When the fuck has America ever cleaned up a radiological or a bacteriological event? When the fuck have they ever done that? Just name once. They destroyed the Atoll Islands back in the 40s, testing nuclear weapons in 50s and 60s. They never cleaned it up. And now they stored all that radioactive waste in a pit on one of the islands, one of the atolls, and the dome is cracking. They don't fix it. They don't dig around it, fix underneath it. They don't fix the dome. They just say it's cracking. And if it cracks, it'll be the equivalent of 100 nuclear bombs, radiation in the Pacific Ocean. They don't give a fuck about you. So the casks are good for 200 years. No one does anything. They'll run out of money. You know, the story about nuclear energy, I've been saying this in a lot of fucking my videos and live streams. The bullshit story that they gave even back in the 40s and 50s was that soon we'll have the ability to neutralize nuclear waste. It never fucking happened. And if it did happen, they don't use it because there's more money in storing it and rebuilding the containers than there is in zeroing out the radioactive effects. Right now, I need to get a bottle of water. One bottle of water, and I'll be good to go. Hold on, about 8 seconds. 1,001, 1,002, 1,003, 1,004, 1,005, 1,006, 1,007, and we come back with the mad professor look. The fan blew my. Talk about fans. Fuck me, man. I bought a fan yesterday. The price of fans, they went through the roof. Holy shit. 6 years ago, I bought I forgot the name of it. A good floor fan 6 years ago. It still works. I don't use it much, but I did use it for 3 years. I never shut it off day and night. I paid 1,800 pesos for that floor fan in the Ayala Mall in 2014. I looked at it yesterday. It was 4,400 pesos in the BQ Mall. So it went up 18 and 18 is 36, 100%, and then another 600, 800%. It went up 150% for the same fan, same make. The same fan, too. It's not a different model number. It's the same model, same fan. Went up 150% for a fan in 6 years. Well, that would be okay, but I don't know a single person in my entire life who worked on a salary, especially in the Philippines, that went up 150% in 6 years. They are fucking everybody. These fucking big companies are just fucking everybody. Don't make any mistake about it. You're being fucked. I'm being fucked. Now, some people out there, they're too fucking stupid to understand that they're being fucked. I mean, they don't have recollection of what things cost, or they don't look at the prices. Even sometimes when they shop, I see people walking down the aisle and just they don't care. They don't look at the prices. Fucking big to do. Yeah, you could run down the aisle and throw shit in the cart without looking at the prices. But most people can't do that. And if I could, I wouldn't. And I have been able to and never did. I always shopped for a good deal. I don't give a fuck what they got on sale, what they don't got on sale. If it's on sale and I don't like it, I don't buy it. But for instance, in Key Largo, Winn-Dixie, twice a year would have mayonnaise quarts when they were full quarts, going back into 2000. After I bought my backhoe, I remember from 2001 until I sold my backhoe in 2013, Winn-Dixie had sales for mayonnaise. It was the same sale twice a year. $1.39 for a quart. Well, eventually it went down to 27.5 ounces, but it was still $1.39 for their quart bottle, roughly. So when it went on sale, I would buy 25 quarts. That's 1 quart every 2 weeks. I like mayonnaise. Then twice a year, they had a sale on turkeys for 39 cents a pound. And you could buy a maximum of 2, but you could go out to the car, put your shit in the car, and come back and buy 2 more. They were okay with that. So when that happened, I would buy 6 or 7 turkeys, 20 pounders. If I could buy 20 pounders, I'd buy them. But anything bigger than 14, 15 pounds, I'd buy 6 or 7. And that would give me turkey for 6 months. I like turkey. I like mayonnaise. I like toasted bread. And they also had other sales. So could I buy other food? Yeah, I could. But I like turkey. And I like mayonnaise. And I like turkey, lettuce, and tomato. So all I had to do was get lettuce and tomato fresh every week. And I could make all the turkey, lettuce, and tomato or turkey. So it's not a question of how much money you have. It's how much money you want to give these people. Because when mayonnaise first went on sale for $1.39, it might have been $2.50 a quart when it wasn't on sale. But then it went to $7 a quart when it wasn't on sale. So then, when it went to $1.39, they called it rollback special. When that flyer went out Thursday afternoon in the mail, you needed to get in the car and go shopping by 6 o'clock Thursday night, or there would be no mayonnaise. They only had so many cases of it, and everybody would buy a bunch of it. The turkeys, not so much. They had limitless amounts of turkeys, but the mayonnaise and other things that they put on sale. So am I a good shopper? Yeah. Am I a cheap bastard? Not necessarily so. Not considering what I would do with the money that I saved on the mayonnaise. I'd put it into fuel and into a boat or a car or some stupid thing I didn't really expect it cost so much when I bought them, but they did. Bullets. Depleted uranium bullets. That's right. That's what the third product of a nuclear power plant does. They depleted uranium. And if you don't know what a depleted uranium bullet is, you could look it up. But it's not they get these little things like this big, 40 millimeters, and they shoot it, and it goes through 3 inches of armor piercing if it's a depleted uranium bullet tip. But if it's not, nothing happens to the armor. So they have a fucking reason that goes beyond electric to make nuclear energy. Yep. Okay, that was another topic I was going to touch on. I forgot. Thank you, Luxembourg. Wittenberg. The nuclear power plant that I first mentioned was built on the San Andreas Fault. And the name of the power plant was the Devil. That in Spanish, the name of the plant says the Devil. Diablo. The Diablo nuclear power plant in Los Angeles. Diablo. The Devil. You don't think that they've had this shit planned? And almost every nuclear power plant has been built on a fault line or in an earthquake-prone area. Oh. Well, let's talk about fuck you, Fukushima. And then looks like it's time. It looks like it'd be a nice day to take a walk. So that's right. Diablo Canyon. Well, yeah, it was. I don't remember all. I lived in California. We used to fly. Actually, I actually got to fly. Me personally, at the controls, got to fly over Diablo nuclear power plant as close to the TCA as you could get. The pilot allowed me, he said, "You want to see what the nuclear power plant looks like?" And I said, "Yeah." He got us in as close to the TCA as possible, which you could see everything. So I don't remember any aircraft coming up to escort us out of the area. We were on our way from Temecula, California. We were on our way to Las Vegas. We would fly there and back just so he'd get some hours in. We didn't gamble. We just basically have breakfast or lunch or dinner. So we would fly from Temecula, California. That's where they have the shrub oaks. In fact, he was the owner of the largest shrub oak in the world. And that's the largest connected tree species in the world, oak tree species. What the hell was that guy? Burl Stallworthy was his name. Burl Stallworthy. He owned an absolutely worthless at one point sand and gravel quarry in Temecula, California. So when I met him when I was 14, but when I went back when I was in my 30s, he was, much more successful. But I remember hanging out with Burl when we were kids. He was about 6 years older than us. So anyway, his sand and gravel company was pretty much worthless. The gravel bed he was working from on a river, an ancient river, he had mined as much gravel and sand as he could, and he was going to lose the business. This goes back, the last time I was there, 1990, I was there. We flew out again. We always made the same trip. But so there was a flood. I mean, a torrential downpour in California is different than a flood. We had 3 inches of rain the other day. If that ever happened to California, it would, would destroy so much. So anyway, there was a flood, a rainy season in California that no one ever saw before. And this giant shrub oak, the biggest shrub oak in the whole world, was not in the riverbed, but let's just say the shrub oak was over here somewhere, right here. But the riverbed went around this way, around the perimeter of this green container. So the shrub oak was a couple of 100 feet back from the riverbed, but the water was so intense, it was washing the riverbed away. Over here, over here, over there. It washed the riverbed away to where, in a matter of days, because those rivers overflow for days or weeks even after the rain stops. In a matter of days, the riverbed would have washed away to this point and washed away the world's oldest shrub oak. Now, I have a lot of pictures of me and Tommy on there, my friend in California, not a different Tommy. And so what Burl did, now this is a true story. This, you could even probably read this in the history books. Burl took every piece of sand, gravel, conveyor belt, trucks, bulldozers, cranes, and cargo containers. And he would fill up the cargo. He filled up the cargo containers as much as he could with his bobcat, and then put them in front of the shrub oak while there was still land there. And then when the water was washing the path away, he put these containers, and then he put his bulldozers, bobcats, whatever, sand conveyor belt, whatever he could, he put it in over here to deflect the water around the shrub oak. And it stopped the water from washing the shrub oak away. So then he was out of business, right? No. The Indians who had the lease on his mining operation, his sand and gravel business, they were just going to let the lease go, and that would have been the end of his business. But after he did that, the Indian reservation, the Temecula Indians, bought him all new equipment. And because of all the sand and gravel, the good stuff, the soil, topsoils that washed down around the river, they expanded his parcel of land like 100-fold, like all the river. He could now mine the whole river. And then they charged him $1 a year for rent. So basically, that was their way of saying thank you. And he became a multi-millionaire in like no time at all. He was like the #1 purveyor of sand, gravel, and topsoil in all of that part of California. And that shrub oak is still there. I think it was 1,000 years old. Well, that's what they said. I don't know. So, we have more comments. Yeah, they don't give a fuck about you. In Diablo Canyon, right. That's where the nuclear power plant. I knew it had the devil in there somewhere. So the San Andreas, whatever the name of the power plant is built in Diablo Canyon, right on top of the San Andreas Fault. Mattis Meester, boy, that's a long time since I've seen you. Welcome to the machine. Thank you for stopping by. Yeah, you know, it's interesting flying over a nuclear power plant. Well, we didn't fly over it. I'm not going to say that. But we flew in the TCA of the nuclear power plant itself. We're very close to it. It was interesting because you look at it and you're expecting to feel something. You don't feel anything. But no, that's how I do it. And that's how I did it. Plus, I remember I was in the left seat and the plant. We came down the coast from north to south, and we went around the plant we tracked the ocean. We crabbed the shoreline for about a mile or so. And then when we got to the power plant, I turned left to the port and went like not a 300-degree turn around the power plant. And then we went back up to where we were going, which was either Temecula or Las Vegas. But we were just on he had asked me if I want to see the power plant. I said, yeah. He was pretty cool, bro. He's dead now. He was a good guy. Very generous. He bought my friend a car. One time Tommy was an expert Audi motor repairman. I don't give a shit. I never seen anybody take a motor out of an Audi and put it back in. Transmission, brakes, didn't matter. I know my friend Chris is good with Audis, but Tommy, not Audi. Those French cars, the Peugeots, the French Peugeot. That's what he was like. And he built a motor he had two. His wife had one. His sister had one. Burl had one. And he got one for everybody he knew. Well, because he was a good mechanic and they were good cars. And we built a motor for Burl one time, and after Burl became a multi-millionaire, he didn't buy him a new one, but the one he bought was like 2 years old for Tommy. Or maybe because Tommy could repair anything and had parts for that model back. I don't know. But I remember when I saw Tommy in 90, when I went back there right after the riots, I remember he had a new one. Where the hell did you get the money for that? I don't know, Burl bought it from me. Oh, okay. When I knew why. But, you know. All right, well, see the comments slowing down. And we do have a big show. Warren never answered the question that I know of. I could go into my mail. Whatever Warren is doing, he is keeping it close to the chest. So we won't disturb Warren's. In my mail, Warren, if you're still watching, to see if you sent me a message, but I don't see any message. So I'll let that go until Tuesday, like we talked about. Warren is going to have some breaking news. He's got some really... I was listening to some of the shit that Warren was talking about. Not yesterday. I didn't get to talk to Warren yesterday, but Warren has some shit going on, boy. When you people hear about what's going on with Warren, you're going to say, what? No, that's not possible. Yes, possible. Not only is it possible, probable, highly probable. And not only is it highly probable, it's happening now, mofo. It's fucking happening now. I gotta tell you. Unless like 12 people change their mind, there's some shit going on. Hey, talking about shit going on, I went through yesterday, which was July 30th. Woke up and I realized that it's my dad's birthday. So today would have been. So happy birthday, Dad. All right. Take care. I'm done. Unless somebody has a question, I'm going to end this live stream. I think I went through all my notes. So I'll check my notes. One more note. These people running the nuclear power industry of the world are sick, deranged, scumbag, warmongering hooers to money. I think that was my last note. When you take into account the cost of storing spent fuel and the fact that Fukushima will dump... Oh, Fukushima, I forgot about Fukushima. They are getting ready to fuck you proper. Okay, so got to go back live again. I got to go back to my my show. Okay, so back to the show. These motherfuckers that are running the nuclear... This was where Lachlanberg. I wish I knew how to fucking say that. Lachlanberg is correct. They want to eliminate all life on the surface of this planet. Flat plane. So it's fucking flat. But anyway, they want to eliminate life. Fukushima, what the fuck? Remember how many times they promised, we're going to be able to clean, we're going to be able to put ice fucking wall, take that fucking ice wall, shove it where the sun doesn't shine. Some scumbag got paid $10 million to design some scumbag thing that didn't work. And I told them it wouldn't work right from the beginning because I used to make comments on their websites. So how the fuck do you think you're going to dig a hole around Fukushima, a trench, 10 feet, whatever the fuck it's basically a cofferdam, and fill it up with fucking water and then freeze it, and that's going to stop radiation? What the fuck is wrong with you people? The water will either go over the wall, left or right of the wall, and if it doesn't go left or right for some fucking natural barrier reason, it'll go under the fucking wall, but it won't stay behind an ice wall. And they spent $100 million building a fucking ice wall that didn't even work for 3 weeks once they got it. Didn't work. It wasn't feasible. Some scumbag figured out a way to get money from the government. That's all for a theory that he had that was fucking bullshit. Okay, so they say bullshit, that bullshit. They say that only 300 cubic yards of water pass through the soil, which passes, some of that goes through the bottom basement, 6 or 7 floors down in the nuclear power plant, which they still can't get in. So they're saying there's 300 tons of water that they're pumping out. 300 tons of water every day. But what happens when it rains or pours or flood season? Still 300 tons a day. They fucking lie. Okay, so they've been filling up these large metal, looks like the big metal oil storage tanks that you'd see on the side of the road, you know, in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and the 80s. You don't see them anymore, but fuel canisters, the big ones. So they built, from the article that I read, 2,000 of these. It was 2,000 or 20, it might have been 20,000. Yeah, I remember that. The wind blew across the ocean in 19 hours. And in the ocean, it was in the ocean within 3 weeks, all that radioactive nuclear waste with boats and barges and shit floating onto the California. It was in the Seattle area, a lot of that shit went. They just covered it up. Not covered it up with dirt. They got rid of the shit, but they lied about it. Anyway, so they either built 2,000 or 20,000. The article I read about a month ago. I've been doing a lot of research on nuclear power because that's how they're going to fucking kill you. I always said that. That's why it's on the dollar bill. But so those 2,000 tanks or 20,000 tanks, right? More bullshit about the jet stream, but not because of what you said, because of something else. Those 2,000 cells that they call them, they were leaking from the first day. Some of them worked, some of them didn't work. They ran out of room on the site. They started building them on in another place. But from day one, they said the life expectancy of those tanks was 7 to 10 years. Not because metal wouldn't last with water in it for 7 to 10 years, because it could last for 50 years with fresh water, but because of the radioactive, to be honest, I'll tell you exactly what it's called, chelation. Chelating, the chelation of the radioactive isotopes ionizes the metal, which polarizes the metal, so that the atoms aren't all spinning around like this, all around each other in different directions. The atoms cause something called chelation, and it kind of like makes all the atoms line up in lines like this, straight lines. And when that happens, it breaks apart on a subatomic level. So on a molecular level, the metal chelates. You don't see it, but that's what happens, and it becomes weak and brittle and bursts. Go ahead, look it up. Some schmuck out there telling me, oh, he doesn't know what chelation. Yeah, I do know what chelation is. Anyway, so the metal chelates, and that's why the tanks are only lasting 7 to 10 years. But when they sold the fucking tanks to the people, we'll put the water in the tanks, it'll last for 40 years. They knew damn well it wouldn't last for 40 years. It wasn't the first fucking time they built a metal tank for nuclear waste. They lie to you about every fucking thing. Anyway, the tanks are now breaking apart on their own, some of them. So then they have dirt pits. We're talking about big things now. We're talking about shit that's 2 or 3 stories tall, 50 feet, 20 feet, 30 feet wide. And they have dirt barriers. So when they break, it goes into the soil, into the dirt. That's another 10,000 tons of radioactive soil that they got to get rid of. Well, they got no place for it anymore. So in 2 years, the second site or the third site or the fourth site that they built to put the water in is going to be full with no more places that they want to do this. And they're just going to take the tanks as they see fit or deem it necessary and dump that solution that they said they had to keep for 100 years. They're going to dump it into the ocean and call it a day. Basically, fucking you again. The Nuclear Regulatory Commission said that's what you got to do, and Japan said that's what we got to do, and they said, well, try not to release it all on the same fucking day. That's all they said about that. All right. Thank you, Lachenberg. Lachan. Lachan. I wish I knew how to say that. Why don't you post your telephone number on some bullshit video I have, and I'll give you a call if you're in America. All right, that's it. 4 hours of live stream. We're done. Happy birthday, Dad. I'm Ping Permy from Michael Fazio in the Philippines, baby. Warren, if you're listening, I'll give you a call right now. It'll be about 5 minutes. Bye-bye. Thanks, everybody.